The Galactic Council hall shimmered with the light of 1,000 stars. Suspended high above the planet of Clythar Prime, it was more cathedral than courtroom, its walls alive with pulsing veins of light, each representing a different world bound by law and fear. At the center stood Captain Elias Ward, the last human officer to serve the Council's Peace Corps. Shackled in energy restraints, he faced the assembled delegates, beings of every imaginable form, their voices whispering across the chamber like the hiss of distant storms. "Captain Ward," boomed the silver-throated speaker of the Council, "you stand accused of violating intergalactic law. You destroyed the virile Dominion fleet during a ceasefire, ending 700,000 lives. Do you deny this?" Elias lifted his head. His uniform was torn, his face shadowed with exhaustion, but his voice was steady. "I don't deny it. I stopped them before they could release the virus on Elian 4. A wave of gasps rippled through the crowd. The Dominion ambassador slammed a clawed fist on the desk. He admits his crime. Humanity's arrogance knows no limits. The human envoy tried to rise, but the council guards blocked her. No one was allowed to interrupt the proceedings. Elias's gaze swept the audience. Creatures with eyes like embers, like mirrors, like oceans, all of them waiting for his downfall. He could feel the hatred, the distrust. Humanity's past wars had already made them outcasts. Now he had given the galaxy one more reason to fear them. When the speaker spoke again, the verdict felt inevitable. "Captain Elias Ward of Earth, you are hereby condemned. Sentenced to be carried out at first light." Elias bowed his head. He had saved billions, and for it he would die alone. 6 months earlier, Elian 4 had been called the Emerald World, its jungles glowing with bioluminescent rivers, its cities floating on silver spires above the canopy. It was meant to be a place of peace, a neutral ground between the virile Dominion and the Galactic Council. Captain Elias Ward had been sent there not as a soldier, but as a diplomat, humanity's quiet attempt to prove it could be trusted again. But peace was a mirage. The virile Dominion arrived under white flags, their ships gleaming like mirrored daggers. Elias led the talks from an orbital station, flanked by a small team of human and alien envoys. The Dominion's representative, a tall reptilian with gold-plated scales, promised disarmament. Yet intelligence reports whispered another truth: hidden weapon bays, sealed cargo, movement along the moon side. When sensors confirmed it, a bioweapon payload targeting the surface, Elias didn't wait for authorization. He broke the chain of command. "Activate the rail cannons," he ordered. "Target the Dominion fleet. Full discharge." His crew hesitated. "Sir, that's a violation of treaty law." "I said fire." The void erupted in light. The Dominion armada shattered like glass, falling into the green atmosphere below. For a brief, terrible moment, Elias watched the explosion reflected in his visor, the end of a war that hadn't even begun. Billions on Elian 4 were saved. The biocontagion never touched the soil. But the cost was staggering: 700,000 lives and the fragile trust of the Galactic Council. By the time reinforcements arrived, Elias's command codes had been revoked, and his name was already circulating in the press. The human who broke the peace. And so, the hero of Elian became its criminal. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater of light and shadow, filled with the murmurs of 100 species. The trial had lasted 3 days, each moment more suffocating than the last. Captain Elias Ward stood at the center podium beneath the blinding arc lamps of judgment, his wrists still bound in glowing restraints. A dozen holographic screens replayed the destruction of the virile fleet, massive warships bursting apart like dying stars. The soundless images spoke louder than any defense. "The evidence is irrefutable," declared Prosecutor Varnak, his voice like grinding metal. Captain Ward unleashed annihilation during a ceasefire. His actions violate the Intergalactic Charter, Section 12. Humanity's plea for re-entry into the Council is hereby revoked. The chamber erupted in low growls and hissing tones of agreement. The human envoy, Ambassador Chun, rose from her seat. He acted to prevent genocide. The Dominion was preparing to release a virus that would have. Silence, thundered the speaker. Speculation has no place in law. Elias finally spoke, his tone calm but heavy. I don't deny what I did. I saw the weapon. I saw what would happen if I waited for permission. If saving children is a crime, then I'll accept your judgment. A cold silence filled the air. Even the translation drones hesitated before repeating his words across dozens of languages. Prosecutor Varnak folded his scaled arms. Then accept it, human. The council sentences you to death by disintegration at first light. The speaker's staff struck the marble floor, sealing the decree. No one applauded. No one protested. Elias simply straightened, shoulders squared, eyes distant, as though already watching a dawn he would never see. For the galaxy, justice had been served. For humanity, a martyr had just been made. The chamber doors burst open just as the guards moved to escort Elias away. A ripple of confusion swept through the council. The guards reached for their weapons, but the speaker's hand froze them in place. A figure stumbled forward, slender, luminous, her pale skin traced with glowing blue sigils. Her voice, though trembling, carried through the hall like a blade through silk. Don't kill my husband. Gasps echoed from every tier. Dozens of translators repeated the words across alien tongues, and disbelief rippled through the chamber. The woman fell to her knees before Elias, her silver hair spilling across the polished floor. It was Aelira Vynn, daughter of the Elian matriarch, one of the most powerful families in the sector. Elias's breath caught. Aelira, what are you doing here? She lifted her gaze, tears shimmering against the luminous lines on her face. You saved my people. You saved me. I will not let them take you. The Dominion ambassador rose, outraged. This is manipulation, a political stunt. But whispers began spreading. Husband, human, and alien bonded? Such unions were forbidden, almost unheard of. Aelira turned to face the council. We performed the bond of protection, she said firmly. By alien law, I am bound to him. He is my husband. His life is mine. Elias remembered that night on Alien 4. The chaos, the flames, the desperate ritual she had proposed to unite their armies under one banner. He'd thought it symbolic. She had taken it as sacred. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. The speaker's voice trembled as he spoke. This claim changes everything. And in that single moment, the condemned human became the center of the galaxy's greatest scandal. The next session of the council was unlike any before. Reporters crowded the upper tiers, their drones buzzing like metallic insects. The words, human marries alien noble, flashed across every holoscreen. The galaxy watched as Aelira Vynn took the stand, defying her government and centuries of custom. She stood tall, her voice steady though her hands trembled. You call him a criminal, she said, gesturing toward Elias. But you forget who he saved. My people were hours away from extinction. The Dominion's bioweapon was already primed. He saw what your council refused to see. The prosecutor sneered. And you expect us to take your word, spoken under the influence of human emotion? Aelira met his gaze without flinching. Then look at your own evidence. At her signal, a hollow projector illuminated the air. The council watched real-time recordings from Alien 4, Dominion ships arming the payload, the chemical dispersal drones being loaded, the countdown timers. Then came the footage of Elias ordering the strike, his voice firm, resolute, carrying the weight of a man who knew he was trading his freedom for millions of lives. When the recording ended, silence engulfed the chamber. Even the Dominion envoy shifted uneasily. He could have fled, Aelira continued softly, but he stayed to help evacuate our cities. He fought beside us. He held the line until the fires went out. That's not the act of a monster. That's the act of someone who still believes in mercy. Elias lowered his head. Her words struck deeper than any weapon. The speaker conferred quietly with his aides before announcing, the council will pause the execution pending review. Aelira exhaled shakily. For the first time since the trial began, there was hope. Fragile, flickering, but real. Night settled over Clythar Prime, but the Galactic Council never truly slept. Its halls pulsed with muted light, echoing with the whispers of politics and power. Behind sealed doors, ambassadors argued, not over guilt or innocence, but over consequences. If we pardon the human, hissed the virile envoy, every species will claim the right to act without sanction. And if we execute him, replied the Cerati delegate, her wings twitching, we prove the council values law more than life. That will not be forgotten. Outside those walls, Aelira waited alone in the corridor, her ceremonial robes dimming with exhaustion. She had spoken all she could, shown all the proof, yet the decision hung like a blade above both their heads. Down in the detention wing, Elias Ward sat on a metal bench, staring at the faint shimmer of the force field that caged him. When the door slid open and Aelira entered under guard, his expression softened. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "I had to be," she replied. "They offer me exile if I recant my words. They think I'll abandon you to save myself." He looked away. "Maybe you should. Your world needs you more than I do." Aelira stepped closer, her hand pressing against the barrier. "You didn't teach me to bow, Elias. You taught me to stand." For a moment, silence filled the cell, a silence charged with defiance and unspoken love. Footsteps echoed beyond the door. The guards returned to escort her away. As she turned to leave, she whispered, "At dawn, they'll decide. Whatever happens, you won't face it alone." Elias closed his eyes, the faint glow of the barrier reflecting in them like dawn's first light, a dawn that might never come. The council reconvened under a tense, electric silence. The gallery was packed, diplomats, soldiers, journalists, all waiting for the verdict that could ignite or calm half the galaxy. Speaker Thuran struck his staff, and the echo rolled through the chamber. "This council has reviewed the evidence presented by Lady Aelira Vynn of Elian and the defense of Captain Elias Ward of Earth. We will now deliver judgment." Before he could continue, a hollow feed flickered to life at the chamber's center. It was new evidence, leaked from the Dominion's own archives. The projection showed encrypted logs confirming the existence of the bioweapon project. The Dominion ambassador shouted in protest, but it was too late. The truth filled every screen. A ripple of gasps broke through the assembly. "The Dominion lied to this council," said the Cerati delegate, rising from her seat. "Their hands are not clean." Murmurs rose from the benches. For the first time, the balance of opinion tilted. Elias looked up, hope flickering like a match in his chest. But Speaker Thuran's expression remained cold. "This does not absolve Captain Ward. He acted without sanction. One man cannot decide the fate of fleets." The virile ambassador leaned forward. "If the council spares him, our alliance ends." The chamber descended into uproar. The speaker struck his staff again, silencing all. "Captain Elias Ward," he declared, "your sentence remains death for the crime of violating the Intergalactic Charter. However, execution will be carried out at sunrise tomorrow to allow final appeals." Elias's brief spark of hope dimmed. Aelira's cry echoed through the hall, a sound of heartbreak and fury that no translation device could soften. Justice had hesitated, but mercy still had no voice. The Exile moon Vera 9 hung in quiet orbit beyond the council's borders, a pale world of silver deserts and violet skies. It was there that Elias Ward and Aelira Vynn built a fragile peace among the ruins of everything they had lost. Their days were simple now. Elias repaired the old transmitter tower overlooking the canyon, though it had long since gone silent. Aelira tended to the crystalline gardens that shimmered beneath the twin suns. In Exile, they found something the galaxy had denied them: stillness. Sometimes, at night, they would sit together beneath the endless stars. The light from distant worlds reached them like memories, fading but not forgotten. "Do you ever miss Earth?" Aelira asked once, her head resting on his shoulder. "Sometimes," Elias said softly, "but I think this place feels more like home than Earth ever did." Aelira smiled, tracing the lines of his scarred hand with her glowing fingers. "Then we'll make it ours." One morning, a faint pulse flickered on the transmitter, a coded signal from deep space. Elias adjusted the dials until the message came through. The council has reopened the case. Dominion deceit confirmed. Public support rising. The age of silence may end. Aelira looked at him, hope flickering in her luminous eyes. You see, the truth doesn't die. It only waits. Elias turned toward the sky, watching the distant shimmer of the galactic core. Maybe they'll finally learn what it means to be human, he murmured. She took his hand, and together they watched the stars drift like lanterns in the dark, symbols of a love that had defied empires and rewritten laws. In Exile, they were forgotten, but in the galaxy's memory, they had already become legend.